Hello, everyone, and welcome to High Performing Coaches. I am Aneri Bellamy, and I am here with Miss Kim Oliver. Did I say that right?
Well, it's Olver. There's
Oh,
but
over.
that's close enough. Everybody
Okay,
says Oliver.
so over, right?
Yes.
Okay. So we've been chatting, and she asked me how to say my first name, but I didn't think to ask how to pronounce her last name. Now, during the course of this interview, how would you like for me to address you? Is it okay if I call you Kim?
I would prefer that. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Great. Thank you so much, Kim, for taking the time to be with us on today. I know you're a very busy lady, so we won't take up much of your time, but because you know your time is valuable, but we do appreciate you being one of those coaches that's making impact. How are you today?
I'm doing great, and thank you so much for the opportunity.
So now let's go into our first question, and that is, who are you purposed to serve?
I find that I'm purposed to serve women who are smart, successful, and still struggling with some aspect of their personal life. Maybe it's work life, but it's something that is occupying their minds that they can't seem to find the solution for. That's who I work with.
I was at one point your person you purpose to serve. I think we I think we all have been at some point, or even depending on life circumstances, loop back around
Of
to be that
course.
person that needs that. So that is so valuable. Now, with such a big purpose in mind, tell us, what is it about your life story that made this your purpose?
That's a long answer. So I'll start with I went to college for psychology. And when I got out, I worked in a residential program for people who were recently deinstitutionalized from lifelong institutionalization for mental health issues. So many of them were schizophrenics. And I worked there 5 years and decided I needed to look for something different. And I was offered three possibilities. I could work at a foster care agency, I could work at a drug and alcohol place, or I could work at Job Corps. And I chose the foster care agency because they offered to train me in something called reality therapy. And I was a psych major and I'd never heard of reality therapy. So I didn't know what it was, but it was exciting to me to think that I could continue the learning process because I had little children and I wasn't ready to go back for a master's yet. So I learned reality therapy and loved it. It spoke to my heart because anybody who's ever graduated as a psych major, undergrad, probably knows you learn a little bit about a lot of things, just enough to kind of be dangerous. You don't know enough about any one thing to really be systematic in the way that you work with people. So I learned this choice theory, reality therapy. I went all the way through certification, which for me was a 5 year process. And then I started to become a trainer in that information. And I have to admit, when I first learned it, I used it at work. It was a tool for my toolbox. Then during my marriage, my husband became sick and eventually died from leukemia. And he was sick for 5 years. And somewhere during that period of time, choice theory stopped being a tool for my toolbox and actually became my toolbox. And I had to lean on that through some difficult times. So it started with my husband's sickness, then his death, then raising two teenage boys by myself. That was more than a notion because, my husband was the tough guy and I was the pushover, and my kids didn't need a pushover parent at that point. So I asked myself, what do I know? Well, between my husband's dictatorial stance and my permissive stance sat choice theory parenting. So I started to apply the choice theory parenting to my kids. And I'm just so grateful I did because I think they could have been on the road to juvenile delinquency. And instead, they're now 35 and 36 and quite successful, married with four children of their own and showing me excellent parenting skills. So I'm really super proud of them and grateful that I had choice theory. So then, um, after that period of time, my son Kyle, my baby boy, told me he wanted to join the army and go fight in Iraq. And you've got to know, as a mother who's been working so hard to keep this crazy testosterone risk excited boy safe, that was the last thing I wanted for him. So again, I had to go back to choice theory and realize that this was not my decision. This was his decision. And I needed to find a way to support him and live through the process. I needed to live through it even more than he
Right.
needed to live through it. So I managed to do that. And then he went back a second time. So I had to do it twice. After that, um, I was speaking at an event in Arizona. I live in Chicago, and I had a day with nothing to do. And so I decided to go up in a hot air balloon, something on my bucket list. And it was amazing and wonderful until we had an unforecast wind upon landing and we had a crash and I broke both of my ankles. And so I had to stay in Arizona, rehab. I was in a wheelchair for a couple of months, and I had to lean on choice theory again. Well, I should say I chose to lean on choice theory again. And choice theory actually shortened my recovery time. The doctors were amazed and kept saying, it has to be your attitude. It has to be your attitude. So I've had multiple, I would call them traumas in my life where I was able to actually apply choice theory and do it in a way during a very serious time when most people would abandon those kind of practices and just say it's just too hard. And because of those life experiences, I've developed a way of applying choice theory that I call mental freedom, because it's more than choice theory. I mean, choice theory is just a theory about why people do what they do. But mental freedom is a way of applying that in your life to actually accomplish that mental freedom that people crave. You don't have to ruminate about the problems in your life or the relationships that aren't working out. You get to control the things that you can, make an impact where you can, and accept the things that you can't. A little like the serenity prayer, but in that, because you're not just looking to accept, you're actually looking to find the good stuff in it, because all of our bad stuff has a balance of good stuff in it if we're only able to look and find it. So
Right. Absolutely love it. Absolutely love it. And yeah, mental freedom is it's everything, right? It's the foundation of, I believe too, like you said, with the healing process. I believe it's the foundation of healing too, is just how free your mind is going in, because when it's already weighed down with so much stuff, then your body, the mind and body go hand in hand. I know people don't believe that.
oh,
When you're having a really bad mental day, then your body is just not, you know,
right,
going
absolutely.
to it's already exhausted, right? So I totally understand the importance of that mental freedom, and it's so important, not just for coaches but for everyone, right?
Yes.
For everyday living. It's important.
Yes.
So now we have a golden question, and I'm
Yes,
going to
ma'am.
ask you the whole golden question, and that question is, if that person, anyone, business owner, coach, it doesn't matter, just a person you were purpose to serve, crossed your path, right? And they were in need of that mental freedom in their life or in their business, what would you say to them?
Well, there's two questions I like to ask people to prime them to be open to the ideas of mental freedom. And one of them is, whose behavior can you control? And of course, everybody knows the answer to that question. It's my own. I mean, everybody knows that. Although when I started to learn choice theory in 1987, people didn't actually know that. People would answer that question with, well, I control my children, I control my
Right, right,
spouse, but the good news is I've lived long enough that I can see the human species has evolved to the point that they now understand, almost everybody understands, as long as people are willing to put up with the consequences, you can't make anybody do anything that they don't want to do. So that's the first question. So everybody knows they can only control themselves. So the second question is, whose behavior do you try to control all day long? And that usually makes people a little bit nervous, and they kind of chuckle, and their answer is usually everybody else's. And, parents try to control their children, partners try to control one another. At work, we're trying to control our partner or our business associates, our bosses. Our bosses are trying to control us. It's just a constant state of manipulation and control. And we don't always do it maliciously. I mean, a lot of times, especially for my target market, they are trying to control people because they believe what's best for them. So it's coming from a place of love, but it's definitely not being received as love. And so it puts a strain on the relationship and causes discord that tends to preoccupy people in their regular day, where they can't figure out, why are we having such a struggle? When if they could understand that their behavior in coming from a loving, wonderful place can be the thing that's actually creating a lot of the struggle. So learning how to identify that and what to do instead is the thing that mental freedom helps people with.
I absolutely love it. Absolutely love it. Now, is there something that they can grab hold to right now, and as it relates to mental freedom that could help them, or is there another way that they can connect with you? Because I know after this, they're going to want to continue the conversation, right?
Well, I'm about ready to launch a masterclass, and by the time that this airs, it will probably be ready. So that masterclass is a 90-minute free. It's free content for people who want to learn more about mental freedom and understand the why of it and the what and the how. So that is coming out soon. And I also currently have a mental freedom group coaching program. So people can sign up for that. There's a wait list. And when you get to the top of the list, I'll reach out and see if you can attend the next session that we have planned. Group coaching in mental freedom is a 6-session course. It's 2 hours each session. And we go through 6 different tenets of mental freedom, and you work the process between, and then we graduate.
Cool.
And so far, with all of my mental freedom groups, I've been having a 6-month reunion to get back together because people develop some close relationships in there. And we want to find out, are you still hanging on to mental freedom, and how's it working for you? And it's been just so gratifying to know that this is so helpful to people. So
Absolutely love it. Thank you so much for your time today. And thank you for being a coach that's making impact on the lives of others, because in times like these, it's definitely needed, somebody that helps us see the positive side of things, since a lot of the concentration is on the negative. So I truly, truly appreciate and thank you for being a coach making impact.
thank you, Inari. It's been a real pleasure.